I bring on Dr.
I can't hear Hillary.
Okay, Hillary. Dr. Yes. Can hear you, but if you leave, the space is gonna drop. Let me see. Let me text you and see how we can proceed with this. Dr. can drop then come back. I think maybe that can work. Okay, that's all. So possible, but Ruben Kigame, we would like to hear from you. Please pick the mic. Let me send you the mic. And so, as we continue, there's somebody has requested me to ask because there's a breaking news that Sakaja state demonstrations are going to go on in Nairobi tomorrow. Is this because they have a flyer, they have a Citizen TV logo on it? Please, let's take the next 5 minutes to confirm if that is true before we have somebody comment on it. Hillary, who is next? Let's get Mwangi, are you here? Mwangi, go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary, and everyone today on this space. My question, yes, I can see Dr. here. My question was to Dr. Miguna. Dr. I'm happy we are with you today. And we have realized that this war is not only about us. There are infights within the same government. And as our protest has always been peaceful, and I insist we have always been peaceful. Nobody is going to convince me otherwise, because I saw policemen shoot at shops with live rounds. So it is the police. And then there was also some people that came in later, and apparently these people had weapons. But I am sure those people are not Gen Zs. Now, to Dr. For the sake of protecting ourselves, because myself, I'll have to be on the ground tomorrow. For the sake of protecting ourselves and our young people, there is this infight that is going on between the president and his deputy, and also other people involved, I don't know. And you realize there are chances that maybe these other people, civilians with crude weapons, are sponsored. Right now, I'm seeing something going around on the social media. During 2023 finance bill or cost of living protest, they called themselves Nairobi Business Community. Today, they're calling themselves Nairobi Business Community. And these are the same people who unleash war on I call it war, on innocent citizens. Now, is there a way, is there, being somebody who's on the know-how, is there a way we can identify ourselves without having been the target? Dr. Thank you. I'll drop my speaker so you can have somebody else.
Thank you. Yeah, please go on.
Yes, thank you. Yaradwen, I understand what you are saying. Yes, we do have a problem. Normally, in political science, they basically call elite fracture. So there are divisions within the executive, but that should not concern us. Those are their own problems. We should not care about their problems, and we should not focus on their problems. The people that were sponsored, the people that came with weapons, were sponsored by the same government. I believe these people were Farouk sponsored, they were Oscar Sudi sponsored, they were Ruto sponsored. I think they're using Rigathi Gachagua as a red herring. Rigathi Gachagua is not part of the protests, so they cannot bring him in. He's part of them. He's Ruto's deputy. He appointed him, and he's in government, and he's part of the problem. So let us not be diverted. I think that if we are all dressed the same number, and some people don't have the ability to make t-shirts or to buy, but if we can, I think that dressing in white and black and green were the three colors that were chosen. And for people who can carry the flag, water, everybody should carry water if they can, because it helps with the tear gas. And then just stay together. Don't spread out. Spreading out opens up those who spread out as easy targets of attack. Because once you are alone, that's how they cornered Rex. Once they find you alone on the street, they can shoot you and there is no accountability. Nobody's taking pictures. Nobody can come to your aid. So, as much as possible, let us be together, and let us be together in huge numbers that they cannot confront. Ruto is weak and down. Yes, they say that he's lethal when he's down, but I can assure you right now, Ruto is defined. He has no poison, he has no teeth. He has to go with his entire regime.
Thank you so much, Daktari. And another thing, Jared, that was a very good question there. Another thing that I hear people speak about on the streets a lot is that, the division that Yaradwen is expressing now, that, they could be fighting each other, which doesn't appear to make sense because, as Daktari rightly says, the one team. So constitutionally, if one resigns, the other has to go with it. So I think that idea of letting citizens think that they're fighting each other is just a propaganda there to try to bring in the tribe issue again, and just to just bring in divisive aspects into the conversation. Godfather. Godfather.
Thank you much. Thank you, Hillary, Maj, the host, Kingsman, and our key speaker, the General, Dr. Miguna, the speakers that have already given their views so far, as well as those who are going to give, and our honorable listeners. This is a very important conversation, and I just wanted to reiterate that this is the week, and as the General stated, the only option is to march forward to put more pressure, to apply pressure so that we can have the government go home in entirety. So we are trying to look into that. But as we look at that, the issues that are coming up, and these will be playing at on the ground tomorrow, are the magic of numbers. How then do we stick together if the tear gas comes? Then, for instance, will be on the ground. Tear gas may likely disperse the populace. So is there any scientific way of trying to control the crowd so that they remain in numbers, so that we can try to reduce the numbers of the fatalities and the injured by the police? Because that is something that is still a concern as much as we must march forward. That is the first part. The second part, how can we document the atrocities that are being committed by the police? Because eventually we need to hold them accountable after the fact. Because we've seen, for instance, yesterday's interview of Ruto, Mr. Ruto, in our state house. He doesn't seem to understand what's going on. He seems to be living in a different world altogether. He doesn't have the empathy, even when we talk about a child has been shot over 7 times or 8 times. His response is, "Isn't he alive?" These are some of the issues we're looking at. So, or we're looking at someone who we must get out of power by all means possible, and we expect that they're also likely to use a lot of force. So, how do we document these atrocities that are likely to be committed by the police and other criminals, so that we can try and also hold them accountable after the fact, apart from the citizen journalism, which I believe most of them will be having smartphones to try and record this. But we see them, they have the advantage of having the CCTV cameras to try and get the looters. But how do we also hold them accountable moving forward? Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Godfather. Kingsman, go.
Margin, maybe just to contribute on the issue that is going around about the rift between the president and his deputy. I think that is their problem as KK. And even from my tweets, I've kept on saying that whether, like, I saw the deputy president saying that, like, his sons didn't approve him supporting the deputy president, then I think those are elite issues and they are not our issues. So whether they already, as a people, we have said we are tired with KK. So if there is a rift between them, then it is when they are divided, the easier they fall. So that they keep on having infights, because when they are divided, then it is easier for us to attack. So for me, let's not give airtime to this, because it's just a diversionary tactic that they are trying to. I don't think if these two, they know a lot about each other that they cannot let go at this point in time. So my sentiment is, let's not try to give oxygen or life to the sentiments that they are having between them. Their deputy and our issue is about tomorrow, about Occupy. It's about our issues as a people united to get 57 million of us. So hata wakiamua sahii waenda wakulane Mangu State House Road, walimani, that is none of our, wapigane, whatever their problem is, we don't give us focus on the cause, and the cause is about us being on the road tomorrow, in the streets, everywhere in this country.
Thank you, Kingsman. Thank you so much. Frederick, go ahead. Frederick, then Young Adas, then Deborah. On that order.
Good evening to host and the host and our guest speaker. Mine goes to the general. The citizens are not rebellious and they are not armed, but they have a second layer of safety net, which is courts. And courts have given direct court orders that police should not use tear gas, should not abduct people, but they continue doing so. As citizens, or as the courts, what should now the courts do, or judges do, to ensure that citizens are protected? Because these orders are given, no one takes them seriously. They are just treated as paper. So what should citizens do? Because there are no arms for them. Should now courts pronounce themselves and say that now also we are downing our tools so that they can be able to protect citizens, to ensure that these court orders have some effect? Thank you.
So I can answer that if you allow me.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Hillary.
Yeah, Mike, tell him to go ahead.
Can you hear me? Is everybody hearing
Daktari,
me?
Daktari, go ahead. Daktari, go ahead.
Okay,
Can
so
proceed? Yeah.
the short answer, my friend, I start with the last question. The short answer is the courts don't have the power to enforce their own orders, because their orders are supposed to police that are using tear gas, that are assaulting, that are maiming, that are abducting, that are torturing and killing innocent Kenyans. If you recall, in not so long a time, I had 35 court orders saying I was a Kenyan, I should be allowed to be in my own country, my house should not have been destroyed, I should not have been removed. They never obeyed them for 5 years. So don't think that the animal has changed. This wild beast is still the same one. The same Koome that was heading the Nairobi police is now the AG of police of Kenya. Most of the abductors and assaulters and torturers are now both in uniform and in civilian clothing, which means that we go back to what we were saying from yesterday, and I've been saying consistently on my part for years now. The power is in our hands. Ultimately, we have resorted back to the default, which is clause 1 of the Constitution. The sovereignty is now vested in us And it's up to us to all the laws that should have been enforced by the police. But of course, we don't have weapons, and we are doing so peacefully. And that's all we have to continue doing. But to do that effectively, yes. And if and when we do, because I don't think that it's been done as effective as we can, then there will be no tear gas. The police will be rendered impotent. There is no police that can throw tear gas to 10 million people in the CBD, for example. That would be suicide. So they won't do it. So the next question was with respect to, I don't know if it was the fact that they have weapons and we don't, or they can come with weapons, and answer still remains the same, that if we are 10 million strong, that they won't be able to do that. I think that is where we are. That is what we have to emphasize. That everything relies on the turnout. And if we remain peaceful, and people can see a regime shooting at peaceful protesters, the regime loses credibility and legitimacy. Regime falls on its own weight. Even the UN, and we do have people supporting us from all the way from the UN and many of these governments right now, they will denounce the government. It will be a pariah regime, and it will be subject to indictment, and their leaders will be subject to prosecution in many jurisdictions. There are other things that are happening that I will not disclose, but there are other things we are doing. There are other things we must do. So those who work for international organizations that are here and are listening, you know what to do. Those who are practicing law internationally, you know what to do. Many of them are aware of what happened to Pinochet in Spain. Pinochet was the biggest dictator and tyrant in the 1980s and early 90s. And a small magistrate in a small town in Spain arrested Pinochet in Spain. And that was the end. So don't think that Ruto is above the law internationally. He is not, and he knows that. And we are going to deal with him personally, both in Kenya and abroad. Be assured of that. We are not resting, we are not sleeping, and we will not let him go free. We brought down Moi, and he had to accept to bring multipartyism after 24 years. What is Ruto with less than 2 years? So there should be no fear. Some of us don't fear Ruto. I have to disclose, because this I did not disclose yesterday. I have spoken with Ruto myself 4 separate times about tracking, locating, and repatriating money that was stolen by Uhuru Kenyatta and stashed abroad. Because some of us have traced the money, we know where the money is, we know how much it is. And I have told them, this money is more than enough to wipe out the debt that you are complaining about and put Kenya on a trajectory of becoming a first world. And William Ruto has never reverted back to it. He told me once to put it in writing, and I did, and he never responded. So this is not a person we can give a pass. This is not a person we can excuse anymore. Instead of overtaxing Kenyans, we have told him what the solution is. We know where the money is. We know it is in its trillions. We know what the debt of Kenya is. We know this money is capable of wiping the debt and developing Kenya, and you don't have to tax anyone. Not to the level that he's trying to do. And he has refused to do it. Instead, He goes behind our back, cuts deals with people like Matiang'i so that he gets his cut, so that he can bank it in Dubai and other what they are doing. So I want us to be very, very clear. William Ruto is not capable of being reformed. Thank you.
Daktari, on that same note, I've had a problem about this thing called Odia State. We are being told we owe trillions of billions in terms of dollars. That is like external debt from IMF, from I don't know where. Is it possible we audit everything and then we know the real debt that has been used in development? Because I understand our constitution says that.
Find him, arrest him, prosecute, shame, giving police a bad name.
The whereabouts of that money. I saw the interest mature the other day. I think they paid around 165 million not long ago. So when we are able to do this, and now Ruto is out of the equation. Daktari, can we get this IMF and everyone, and even ask them if you know the Kenyan constitution, because ignorance is not a defense before a court of law.
But
If they knew,
yeah, my brother, to
yes,
cut
Daktari.
the long story short, let, let us not put the cart before the horse. Right now, we should focus on mobilizing so that and making sure people are safe. And I have said safety is in our numbers. Before we deal with the details of auditing the debt, you will not be able to get the records and be able to record competently until they're out of. This information in a credible manner. For example, they are saying they paid debt this amount, this amount. Have you seen the evidence of payment of debt? No, we haven't. They have not published it. They have not shown us the transactions. Another thing is repatriated from people that stole, let's say, Chicken Gate. This guy's the money was supposed to have been returned from London, England. We have not seen any evidence of that money, where it went, or even this money that EACC says it keeps recouping or recovering from fees, or cutting deals and saying that they have gotten 100 or 200, 235 million or whatever, and they have recovered from this or that person. We have not seen any record of any of that. So there is a lot of issues, but we don't want to be lost in all those details. We have to be focused on the superstructure. The superstructure is the dissolution of government and then the process of reconstituting a new dispensation, a new state, a new republic, so that we can start afresh. Kenya is not an independent state. Kenya is still a colonial state, and Ruto is a puppet of the West. Everything he does a leader. Ruto is not a legitimate president and cannot govern. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Can I go briefly, Dr.
Who's speaking? Benji. Benji, I'll give you the mic in a few. So I just wanted to say that two people who
Doctor, can I go briefly?
Benji, can you
Benji,
hear me?
please put your hand up. Put your hand up if you want to speak. There are lots of people who are on the queue, and then you'll be given the mic.
So as I was saying, there are two people who have messaged me now. One of them is requesting Kenyans in Kenya to use while spacing, and another one, as I said, he's from the candle lighting event of one of the fallen heroes. So he will add him to the mic. Also share about that. Hillary, you'd queued in Deborah, right? Deborah, go.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Hillary and Marge, for this. One cop is a good cop and the other one is a bad cop. So we should not be, we should not have any side shows with that. That's their own problem. Now, a question that I have for Dr. Miguna. We watched when, what can the citizen do? Because people were there videotaping. There were cars also there. Could also citizens stop this arrest? You jump, when they have the car, all the citizens jump and say you cannot do this. Or is that dangerous? That's number one, a question for Miguna. Another thing I also want to say is election year in the United States. We need to bombard the State Department with emails, with Twitter, with pictures of the people who have been killed, with pictures of the demo, and also tagging Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Also Biden, they read this thing. They want to be the good books because in November there's election. So we have an opportune time. Let's put pressure everywhere that we can and tell them what you're doing is wrong. You need to denounce this. You need to denounce people who are being killed on the streets. So that's also how we can put pressure. So thank you very much, and also condolences to the people.
Deborah. And now we move to Gary. You can chime in anytime. Academia, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. My 2 minutes. I think the system is rotten to the core, and anything that they are doing, the only option we have is to remove the regime completely, and thereafter we can have a new system that can deal with the questions that people are asking. And because again, you need the state to protect you, and the same state is against you. So what do? You get it out of your way, and then get a state that can protect or can work in the interest of the common man or the interest of the country. So I think that's the most important thing. Secondly, I urge people to turn in large numbers, as Dr. Miguna said. And this Dr. Miguna said long time ago. I used to watch him when I was I think first year or second year at the university. On NTV, he used to say that the only way that we can get Kenya on the right road is to complete overhaul of the system. And this is the time that we have to use. Otherwise, if we go into the judiciary and all those things, there's a lot of things that happen in judiciary. And therefore, the main focus that we should do now, how do we get the rotten regime out of our way? That is the big question that we have, because we only have one thing to do. One question, how do we get this government out? That is one fundamental thing that we need to do. So everything should revolve around the best way, constitutionally or democratically, whichever way we can get this government out, so that we get what can work for us, because it doesn't work for us. It has never worked for the commoner. So this is an installation that was put in place to serve the interest of politicians or politics or other people's interest, not the citizens' interest. As I end, I want to say that there is no, the first article in the Constitution
power of people and shall be exercised in accordance with the same constitution and the governing authority to exercise everything. But we retain the absolute power. So we are now going direct to govern ourselves directly. So nobody should question what people are doing, because that is the essence of this constitution, is that we indirectly or directly. But the first thing comes is you may exercise it directly before indirectly. So what does that mean? It means that it recognizes that the power belongs to the citizens first before we delegate it to any other person. So let us use that. There is no any other article that comes above Article 1, and that Article 1 back on the track. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Academia. Hillary, go.
I want to intervene just briefly, please. Yeah, so much. There was a question that was asked of me about, and it is an important question. What do we do if we are in the situation that Keter found himself in, being abducted on the street? You saw people standing by and whatnot. I think the Keter question, if I address it directly, they recorded. They recorded what is happening. They gave it to the press. And then there was public pressure. Then Keter got released the same day. That is what should be done when you are not enough. They were not enough. They could not have fought with those men with guns. And they were just like two or three